Hi YouTube, this is VidHead85, and today I'm going to talk about the date that it happens to be. It is June 26th, 2012, which would have been my grandmother's 60th birthday. It's been 10 years actually since she passed of cancer, and I dream about her a bit. Not as much as, actually they're kind of intermittent and random, but I miss her. Grandma was Big Mama. My sister kind of has taken over that mantle now. Grandma was always the one who would have a barbecue at her house. Anytime there was a holiday, we always went over there. We barbecued, and everybody brought something. Usually she'd have a lot of stuff already, but some people would bring things, and she'd have this one game called Rotten Egg, where you basically passed it. And at one time, she actually had us record everybody's names so that they could call them out, and we would get prizes if we were the last one. In other words, it was this egg that had had a wide open mouth and tongue and purple inside to say that it was rotten, and it was called Rotten Egg. And you toss it, and then all of a sudden, rotten egg, you're a rotten egg, and you'd be out. And I remember one time I tried to say that I threw it to my sister at the last minute, but she threw it to me at the last minute, and I didn't win the prize. But she recorded. She had a camcorder. She recorded a lot, and that was really cool because we do not have the tapes, but those are memories that we have. But it's nothing like being able to sit down with the tape of a deceased loved one and be able to recall them. Simply, this is a time when I kind of reflect on my life as well, because mortality, coming to grips with mortality is never easy. But when you're an adult, you kind of realize, well, you do realize when you realize that one day you're going to die, then you realize how precious life is. And you realize that no matter what you do between the dashes is very important. And how you live it, and what impact you make on other people. So my grandma, I called her Grammy, because my sister called her Grampy, and I don't know why she called her that, but I also decided to have a name for her too. But I got that from one Grammy I got from an episode of Caroline in the City, when Caroline he said, "I want my Grammy back." And I thought he was talking about his grandma, because that seemed like an affectionate name for grandma, but it was an actual Grammy. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. So Grammy was my nickname for my grandma. And I used to go to church with her every Sunday, just about every Sunday. And it was, my grandma she had a connection with everybody. It was like Big Mama Joe from Soul Food. She had a connection with everybody, and she used to call my little brother Cine Samers. I don't know how she got that name, but we would go over there and stay the night. We would go over there, and for Easter, we'd stay the night, and then she'd be chefing all day, and we'd be having all these other things to do. It was just a family affair. People would be coming over. Everybody, we would see cousins and aunts and uncles, and we would see some people that we didn't even know who were good with grandma. And my grandma was a natural networker. Everybody knew her. In fact, my grandma's nickname was Teddy. Everybody knew her as Teddy. And everybody, my cousins all called her Aunt Teddy, because that's who she is to them. And it was really funny too when I first heard one of my cousins call my grandma Auntie, and I'm like, oh wow, oh, you called her Auntie? And he's like, yep, yeah, because my mom is her sister, so that's Auntie. And that was one of those whoa, okay, but today is a really as far as I'm concerned, important day, because this day allows me to reflect on my grandma and also my Aunt Tricia, who passed away, my Uncle Bruh Boy, and my Aunt Mary died before I was born. But these four people, and also my grandmother, my great grandfather and grandmother, who my grandfather, my great grandfather was a soldier during World War II, and grandma would tell me stories about how when he got mad at you, he'd throw you somewhere. And one day he said that he threw my Aunt Mary like clear across the room. And these were different times. He apparently was a hard man, but you know, understanding the realities of the day was pretty interesting. Grandma also told me about a time when Aunt Claudia and Uncle Reggie fought, or I think it was them two, and something was said that first one that cries is gonna get a whooping. And I think they both started crying because like they just were so mad at each other or something. I don't know. But I think maybe they both ended up getting a whooping. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Uncle Reggie or Aunt Claudia that. She told me a bit about Aunt Mary and the kind of woman that she was, and about how she used to hate cod liver oil, and Uncle Bra and Aunt Tricia would always they'd be, it came in a capsule, and and Grandma hated the stuff, and how she just couldn't understand how them two could just eat it like that, but it was good for them, and she dreaded it. She also told me a bit about how why we have the assortment of color in our family, from light skin to dark skin. My cousin Nita is a little lighter. My mom is also on the light side. My cousin Poohcat is on the darker side. So is my cousin Tootie. And she told me that one of our grandparents, greats, married an Irishman who was white, and so they had lighter skin. And then when they grew up, when their kids grew up, they married black men, and hence some of them were lighter, some of them were darker. My Aunt Tricia was very light, and people thought that my mother was her daughter. And my grandmother was a bit darker, and people thought that my cousin Nita was her daughter. And it's kind of funny because we do have a lot of family resemblance in there. And so she told me about that, and about how one day when she was growing up, Aunt Tricia had makeup and stuff like that. My Aunt Tricia, she had to be a looker in her day. She went into the bathroom, and my grandmother saw her go in there, and she came out all made up and everything. And my grandma went back to either my great grandma or my great granddad and said, "Thank you." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" "Thank you, because I got color. I don't need to put any on." I thought that was pretty funny too. But my grandma, anybody who knows her, and I use it in the present tense because, you know, grandma, we carry her around in our hearts. She's done, she basically is and remains, you know, one of the rocks of our family. She a strong woman, one that I really seek to take a lot of her strength and wisdom and guidance. And I kind of wonder how she would react at some of what happened today, or what happens, you know, what has happened throughout ever since she passed. But she's probably not even worrying about this place. And it's amazing how sometimes, as time goes on, how time takes away from your table, and how time adds to your table. And it's something that is a mystery of life, but you know, it's life, such is life. So I just wanted to make a small video in honoring her, and also my Aunt Tricia, who I'll talk about her in another video. My Uncle Brub Boy, I'll talk about them two together, because I don't know much about my Uncle Brub, but we always saw him. He was always in the background, but he was always, we knew who he was, and he was awesome too. But I'll also talk a little bit about my grandfather in this video too. Model planes, model airplanes, and things like that. He loved to build, and due to his death, I reconnected with his son, Uncle LC, and his daughter, Aunt Toddy. And I also found out that I have 3 little cousins, Jada, Justice, and Jace. Jada, Jace, and Justice. I usually have to refer to them by older to younger, because that's just how I figure out how people are, because I usually do the same with my family. with my brothers and sisters rather. So because of my grandfather, even though I reluctantly accepted him as grandpa, nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can tell me that anybody else was my grandpa. Even though on my dad's side we had a grandfather too, and he was around for a bit, but it was kind of in and out. But after my grandmother died, it was a lot of just kind of like we just fell away. He'd reacted. He didn't deal with it very well, and I gotta say, we were just trying to struggle to deal with it ourselves, and it was really difficult for us to to stay connected. And I really wish that we would have been able to, but I can't do anything about the past, and neither can he, as he has passed. And I gotta say though, he was a part of my grandmother's memories as well, and that really made me feel that when he passed, that, you know what, even though it was through my grandmother that we connected, and we were family, because he wasn't my blood grandfather, but you know what, we accepted him, we adopted him as grandpa, and we adopted his two as aunt and uncle. And after he had passed, Auntie Karima, learning about her, and learning my uncle and how he was, and learning my cousins, and which when I go to New York City, I have to see them. Like that's non-negotiable. I at least have to spend some time with them and see how little Jada has grown. It's been about maybe a year or two since they moved to New York City, and which is home for Auntie Karima. And Uncle Elsie, last time I hear he was working at Time Warner out there, and I remember her calling me, Auntie Karima calling me, saying that she left her keys or something happened with her car, and that was pretty crazy. But I do have to call her sometime, or at least like just talk about, just keep in touch with her, mainly, and both of them actually. But even though I'm talking about my aunt and uncle through my grandfather, it really, like, I've also found out some other people that I knew, because Buffalo is very small. It's a small town, that I didn't know were related to him. Jalal Ali is a guy that I went to school with, and I didn't know that. I believe Grandpa was his uncle, and I knew of my grandfather's mother and father, because they would come by sometimes, but I knew also of a lady named Marie, who was his sister, and then but I had no idea that both Jalal and Shahida Ali, which I'll tag in this video, were related to him also. So that was a really cool thing that I ended up learning. I didn't know Shahida until I started working at a call center, and that's pretty cool, because we do talk to her. I talk to her at times and keep her, see a lot of her posts on Facebook. Also, I also found out Latrice Ali also is related to my uncle LC through his one of his cousins, Rashad. So it's amazing how those connections kind of we see those connections through a person in our family, and about how we find amazing people, and some who are not so amazing, even through those connections. But the bottom line here is that I miss Grandpa, I miss Grandma, and I know that no matter what we always have a piece of them. In fact, when I was thinking earlier today about building models and things like that, I think that one day I'm going to get one, and I'm going to build it. And in fact, I'm going to maybe have a plane in honor of Grandpa. And in fact, I have a lion that Jace, my little baby cousin Jace, just loves. I named him Grandpa, because Grandpa loved lions, and my grandmother loved tigers. So it was funny seeing how they're both of their rooms were situated. Grandpa had his room, Grandma had hers, and their rooms, his rooms were decorated with lions memorial, like Memorial Day, like veteran stuff, as well as planes and things like that. And he loved to build models and everything. I sometimes don't have the patience for it, but I'm gonna do one. I will do one. That's gonna be what I do, and in his honor. And Grandpa the Lion, rather, I look at that as, you know what, that is my lion, for now at least, but it watches over my apartment, and I really just, even though it's always going to be in the front room of my house, right near the door. So, who are some relatives that you miss today? Who are some people that you really, you sometimes wish were here? Do you have any people who sometimes you dream about, and sometimes even give you wisdom beyond the grave? Sometimes we'll dream and we'll miss them so much, and sometimes it's, it'll feel like we're talking to them. And also, I have two women, the grandmas I call them, Kitty and Cheryl Lambert Rudd. They're first married same-sex couple in New York State. I feel as if, they're my grandmas, they're grandma to everybody. And I think that my grandma would have loved them. She might have not been so keen on the lesbian part, or she may not have been so keen on me being gay, but I think that it just would have been like, okay, my grandson. And I feel that, that sometimes our relatives send some people to our lives that, that look out for us and help us in so many ways. So what are your thoughts on that too? This is a long video, but I feel that it's justified because of the subject matter. In other words, if you don't have an attention span, most of us don't because of cable TV and stuff like that. But hey, our attention span is our attention span. But let me know, comment, rate, subscribe. Who are some people that you missed today? Who are some people that really light up your life that you want to stay close to, because you never know when time will take them away from you. So today, Grandma, you would be 60 years old, and I know we would be celebrating. So today I see it as a celebration of your life, and how you were your indomitable spirit, your strength, your wisdom, your faith and belief in God, and how you left a legacy for all of us. We can't forgive you because we feel as if there's nothing to forgive you for. And we love you now. Regardless of any run-ins we may have had with you, we love you and we cherish your memory. Auntie Tricia, the same goes for you. Same goes for Uncle Bruh and Aunt Mary, even though I never knew you. I see you every single day, and my cousin Pat Morrison. I see you in their kids. I may not talk to them every day, but I just know that your spirit still lives on in both your son and daughter. So I'll end with that. Have a great day, you two.